Keep playing.
Welcome back to another episode of Eagles Weekly. Here are your hosts, Brett, Haas, Mac, and Jack. How we feeling, fellas?
All right, back Eagles Weekly here. We got Jack, our ACC athlete, and I'm Mac. Brett's, riding this one out, but we'll see him back next week. How we doing, Jack?
Good. Yeah, excited for another Mac and Jack show.
I think this is the third. It's got to be at least our third Mac and Jack show, I think.
Yeah, we've had a fair few. But yeah, excited to. I know you've been at training camp the past, week and a half. Excited to get to that.
Yeah, no, training camp's been great. I've been there, I'd say the majority of the practices so far. I was able to go to the last two, 8 and 9 over the weekend. Happy to dive into that and everything. But pretty exciting stuff. We got a lot of development for the quarterbacks, which I know pretty much everyone is like here, waiting to, really interested in hearing where the progress is on that front. Bill O'Brien's still got a big decision to decide there, and then of course all the other position groups, and then we can kind of go into maybe a little bit of this teaser of the season. But yeah, Jack, what do you think we should start off with the quarterbacks? You think?
I think so. It's what everyone wants to talk about. So let's get into it. I mean, I really enjoyed like kind of the way that you've broken it down. So you had that the interview with Bill close up where he kind of talked a bit about his thoughts. I feel like he never says too much, like, one way or the other, like he kind of should. But I was, wondering, what are your kind of initial thoughts now that we're, less than 3 weeks out from week one?
Yeah, I would say so it's funny that you saw that I posted that interview. And again, for people, BC football fans, we've pretty much moved everything to Instagram and TikTok now. So every practice, I'm going to give like a little recap of the practice. So go follow along there. But you can tell he's kind of getting annoyed now of the questions. Yeah. Every presser, we're pretty much asking him the same question. But at the same time, the pressure's getting there, not only on him, but the quarterbacks as well. Like, I mean, we're less than 3 weeks away. It's feeling more and more that this decision, like he knows he's got to make a decision soon, because I don't think he necessarily wants to go into the season without the team knowing. Maybe he doesn't say it publicly, but I think he wants the team knowing who's the number one guy, get a couple weeks and really get everyone gelling and, on the same foot. But you could kind of tell, hey, it's funny. He kind of gave that like answer, non-answer. Cause I was really just asking, once you make that decision, are you going to just stick with your guy, or are you going to play both? Because he's kind of said, he's spoken out of his mouth like 2 different ways. Like he said, no, I'm going to play both, but once I decide who it is, we're sticking with him. So I'm like, which one is it? I'm trying to understand that. Like, are you sticking with it? Like, if you name Lonergan or Grayson, are you going to just stick with him? And like, even if he struggles, stay with him? Or if he does struggle, are you going to have more of a shorter leash? That's what I was trying to get at. But again, I think what a lot of football minds probably prefer is that once he decides, you kind of stick with it. I don't think you necessarily want to go back and forth, and we can kind of dive into that a little bit. But I think, at least for the audience members, you guys probably are just figuring out who's leading this thing. Is it still like is it still competitive? And I think, like, to answer that, it's extremely competitive. Like, Grayson James has improved. Dylan Lonergan has improved. They've both improved over the spring. They both improved over the summer. I recapped, if you guys want to go look on Instagram or TikTok, like I recapped 8-week spring practice or training camp practice 8 and 9. I think Lonergan took a step up over this past weekend. He's getting the ball out really good. And I think the key thing is Bill O'Brien, now we're getting into the part of training camp where he's putting the quarterbacks in very specific situations, especially down by the red zone, like trying to get them to be creative, trying to get them to, go down their progressions and make the right decision. And I think Dylan Lonergan answered all those questions, the last couple practices, really put them in very specific situations, like 4th and 1, or you only have one timeout, really going into the details. And Dylan Lonergan really performed, I thought, really well. And you kind of saw that high ceiling that everyone talks about with Dylan Lonergan, that, hey, he's got that talent, he's got that speed. You started to see, he's a little more, faster on the ground and able to make, more unique decisions there. But again, having just said all those positive things about Dylan, Grayson's also competing, staying solid, staying consistent. And again, he has all of that experience from last year, knowing Bill O'Brien's system. So like we've been saying all along, Grayson's got more of the experience. You know what you're going to get out of him. He's been very consistent. Dylan Lonergan is, caught up, which is amazing because he's only a sophomore and he's a transfer from Alabama, and he was able to catch up really quick to this offense. But again, he's never started a Power 4 college football game, and he's coming in here completely fresh, but he's got a higher ceiling. So again, that's where we're at. But I'm happy to hear your thoughts and kind of dive into any aspect of what I just talked about.
Yeah, I find what you said about Bill's comments on the whole thing, like how they're both going to play, but when we have a guy, we'll stick with our guy. I don't want to say concerning, but ideally, I mean, we're less than 3 weeks out from the season. Like you don't want to be having them trade drives during Fordham and then figure out your offense kind of on the fly, I feel like. So I don't know. Do you have any, I don't want to say concerns, but, thoughts about Bill waiting so long to decide on a quarterback? Or do you think it's just the competition is just that close that it's so hard to decide?
That's a great question. I feel like it's funny. I feel like most fans have this idea, oh, Bill's going to wait till Fordham. He might even wait till Michigan State. Like he's going to try and get every advantage possible. I could be wrong on this, but I think that's the opposite. I think Bill O'Brien doesn't care about what the public thinks or how much of an advantage or disadvantage he does for telling his quarterback. I think he really is, the second I know, I'm going to make public to the team, to the media, whatever, who our quarterback is. And I really think, based on what I've been seeing on the practice field, he's waited this long because I think he still is trying to figure that out. Like this isn't like Dylan came in here and blew Grayson away, but he did blow away as far as the expectations. Like he came in here and was able to grasp everything amazing, but that just speaks to how much Grayson also has improved. So this competition is legit, as legit as I've ever seen. Like they're both like, when they're in the pocket, Jack, like I'm telling you, they both have presence there. They both have the leadership there. They're both yelling at the guys, get in the right position. They clearly both have a good understanding of this offense, which is really amazing. I mean, both of them, and, Grayson only came in last year. Dylan only came in this, winter. It's amazing what they've been able to improve upon, and we can get into the offense and the exciting thing there. But I would say I have a hunch that Bill's going to make a decision soon. Like, again, follow along next week. There's a presser next week, Bill, in the middle of the week. I think there might be a decision publicly, because I think we're getting to the point where I think Bill's seen, man, these guys, both of them are good. I could start either and we could have a solid season. I think he's now at the point where I just got to make a decision, because that's going to give my team the best advantage going forward, because then we'll have a couple of weeks to really gel everything together. I think that's where he's at. I could be wrong on that, but I would really stay tuned to this week, because I think the next week or two, I think there will be a decision made, because it is so competitive, if that answers your question.
No, definitely. I mean, I assume both guys are getting, first team reps pretty equally. I mean, clearly no one's said anything or made any decisive claims on that front. Do you find that Grayson kind of has his guys and Dylan has his guys? I know, Grayson, he has more a lot of familiarity with Jeremiah Franklin, who's going to be a big target this year. All the receivers lose Bond. So do you find that there's sort of a distinct, Grayson has his guys, Dylan has his guys?
Yeah, I see where you're getting at. Yeah,
or
right, because
in terms of wanting the offense to gel as you're giving them as much time as possible to sort of gel before the season starts. I wonder if I'm sure Bill's taking that into consideration, and is that something that you've observed at all in your 2 weeks at camp?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, Jack, because I feel like there, obviously Grayson had a good relationship with Reed Harris last year. Good, good bond with Bond, I should say, with Lewis Bond. So those relationships are still there, obviously, with Grayson, and he's improved those, I think. Yeah. I would say then you kind of had the aspect of like Dylan Lonergan coming in with his roommate Ty Lockwood from Alabama, the tight end. So you would think, oh, maybe there is some divide there, but like I would say from practice, like they've been both connecting with the wide receivers and the tight ends across the board. I wouldn't say there's been any difference there, really. I mean, I think, some days one guy might be hitting the deep pass a little bit better than the other one, but as far as who they're hitting, I've seen improvement across the board, especially from Grayson there. I mean, Grayson hit a great, pass to Ty Lockwood the other day, in the end zone. And then Dylan Lonergan also hit Jeremy Franklin in the end zone the other day. So it's like both QBs, whether with the personnel, they've been, right there with each other. But again, that goes back to what I was saying as far as the decision that Bill O'Brien pointed out is that I think they definitely the key to that would be naming a starter so they get more reps with the ones. Because what you talked about right there is there have been, I'm not supposed to speak to like who's necessarily on the ones or the twos, but like I would say quarterbacks, they've been splitting like the time. They're as far as getting snaps with either the one or the twos. Both quarterbacks are pretty much getting equal snaps. The only difference I saw maybe was Lonergan this weekend, maybe getting a few more things, a few more, snaps in the situations. But again, it's not like he's getting all of them and Grayson's getting none. Like it's still very, if any difference, it's 60-40. So like they're getting all the, they're both getting a significant time of snaps with the ones and twos. And I would say, speaking again to that decision that Bill has to make, I was watching Bill mostly Saturday and Sunday, watching to see, because he, for the first 2 weeks of training camp, he's been with the punters, the kickers, the defensive backs. He's been all over the place with the different groups, watching them, taking notes, but not this weekend. This weekend, he was taking notes, watching the quarterbacks the entire practice. Like he did not go help out to figure out what Andy Quinn needs to do punting wise. He was there watching Grayson James, taking notes on his little notepad, and then watching Dylan Lonergan. So you could see that change. It's clearly getting to the point where now his main focus is the quarterbacks and making that decision for the team. And for me, that just speaks to, hey, this is still very competitive. And clearly this is the biggest thing that, draws his attention that needs to be figured out first. And I don't know, that was, I think, telling this weekend that he, wasn't anywhere away from the quarterbacks this weekend. He was pretty much focused, locked in on trying to figure out who's going to be his QB1.
Yeah. One interesting thing about this that I find is that it's not like they have super complementary skill sets. Like it's not like one guy's like a pocket passer, one guy's like a third down guy that can scramble for first down. They seem to have pretty similar skill sets, and they might have some, minor differences. Like one's better on, short clock situations. One's better down the field. So it's not like, I don't think they could play at the same time. Like I don't want them to play at the same time. Like if Bill makes a decision, I wanted to, barring something crazy like last season, or the season before, I guess. But barring something crazy like that, I want Bill to, kind of stick with that guy. I'm interested to see how this goes. While you're just talking, I put together 6 categories. Are you at liberty to kind of grade the quarterbacks at this point?
I'm happy to grade the quarterbacks. Yeah. The only thing
I don't know what they tell you that you can say or can't say, so I want to be careful there.
No, I can. This is strictly Mac Hutchinson's opinion. So again, this isn't anything objective here. Well, I think it is, but again, you don't have to.
Yeah.
But again, I just can't speak to like ones and twos and where everyone's playing right now. But speak to my opinion.
Strictly the quarterbacks. So I have 6 categories here. There's probably some overlap. I just typed them up as you're talking. First is pocket passing. Second is mobility / scrambling. Third is strength, athleticism. Fourth is experience. 5 is intangibles / feel. And then 6 is situational awareness / IQ. Think like clock management, timeouts, things like that. Does that make
Okay. Yeah.
anything you want to add? Do you want to add like a breakdown pocket passing into?
We can go by like arm strength, maybe not just accuracy. So we can split the pocket passing into accuracy and strength, I would say, or speed, zip on the ball. Okay. Let's go down those, and then you can if you can jot them down, Jack, and then we can tally them at the end.
Yeah.
But I would say for pocket passing, interestingly, I think the zip on the ball is pretty even. I would say the accuracy leans Lonergan.
Okay.
Interestingly, so yeah, I would give accuracy advantage to Lonergan. As far as the strength, like ability to step into a throw and zip it, I think they're both pretty even. I would say, and as a tangent, Lonergan I think is more consistent there versus Grayson. When he steps in, man, he can really zip it, maybe even more than Lonergan, but it's not as consistent. So I would just say that's an even wash there.
Okay. In terms of like, if you had to grade them 1 to 10 on strength and accuracy, what would you give each of them?
I would say strength for both 7, and then accuracy, I'd also go 7.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll say 7. I would say for accuracy, I'll give Lonergan 7, and then Grayson a 6.
Okay.
And then the next category, Jack,
is mobility or.
Oh yeah, mobility. Interestingly, I'll say a quick thing about this. During the first training camps before the scrimmage, they looked really even, and I was like, oh man, I've heard all about this Lonergan speed and all this agility in the pocket. Like I'm seeing it at times, but I'm not really seeing whatever this thing that people keep talking about, that being a big difference from Grayson. But then I saw it in scrimmage, the scrimmage in Alumni Stadium. I saw Dylan Lonergan's speed there. Like he clearly was like, damn, when he lets it loose, he can let it loose. And also his agility in the pocket, he's able to be a little more creative. I know, like, sometimes Grayson back there at times, like when he was getting sacked, like it seems like, he's a taller player. So I think that also speaks to like his ability to just like maybe get around a sack or something like that. So as far as agility, was it agility or speed that you were talking about? Mobility, right?
I'll say agility. Yeah.
So agility, I would give Lonergan an 8 on that scale, and I would give Grayson a 6 on that scale.
Okay. 8 for DL, 6 for GJ. Okay, that makes sense.
And again, that's on one scrimmage, guys. This is not a solid placement here. Next one, Jack.
Kind of along the same lines, strength, athleticism. I mean, I kind of did like the mobility, running ability, scrambling as one, strength, athleticism as another.
This is a tough one.
But yeah.
Yeah, because I would definitely say I think Grayson's has a little more strength. Like he's a bigger guy. I think as far as like his ability to like power over someone might be a little higher. But as far as like Lonergan's athleticism, I think he's more of an athlete, like that prototypical athlete. Like, they're both pocket passers, but I can see Lonergan being more of like the ability to make those, the thing that we thought Tommy was going to do last year, which is like be agile in the pocket and make some runs, which he wasn't able to do. I think he's got the ability there. So athleticism, I would say 7 for Dylan Lonergan, 5 for Grayson James. But as far as like body power or strength, I might give like I might give like a 7 to Grayson and a 6 to Lonergan.
Okay, makes sense. Next one is kind of know where you're gonna go here, but just experience, because that definitely counts for something.
Yeah, I don't even know where to put Lonergan on this. If it's like 0 or if because he got a few snaps in Alabama and he got half the snaps this training camp. Like I could put him at like a 3 or like a 3 maybe, and then I would put Grayson James at a 7 or an 8 on that scale, only because he is only in his second year as a starter here, so or a potential starter.
Yeah, I mean he started what? I mean 6 games last year.
Yeah. That's a tough one. That's a tough one to think. Like they're closer than they are. Like experience wise, they're closer than they look for a BC fan. Because as a BC fan, you're like, I know Grayson, he's played for us. But
yeah, but then you look back and he's only started 1 game or 6 games or half the season, and then one of those games was the second half against Syracuse.
Right. I think Grayson only has 5 starts on him, or like 4 or 5 starts on him. So maybe it's more like 6-3. Maybe it's like 6-3 with experience. Yeah.
Okay. Next one is the intangibles / feel for the game, I guess. Like quarterback's in the pocket, he kind of has the awareness, like, he senses the pass rush coming and knows when to like leave the pocket, I guess. Yet that kind of like thing that you can't teach, I guess.
I'll say this. I think Grayson has improved on this extremely. I'm going to give him flat out just a 7 on this. Like I think he's improved this over the summer and over the spring. But I'm going to put Lonergan there at an 8. And the only reason I'm putting him above Grayson is because I think he's got a little bit of not maybe awareness, but ability, like we were just talking about with his athleticism, to like move around in the pocket. But then also his release. I've talked about this before. I think Dylan Lonergan's release out of the pocket is a little bit quicker. This also speaks to, I think, where BC football going into 2025, this could be an advantage for them, because if Dylan Lonergan is able to get the ball out really quick, this could give, the offensive line that half step that they need to be, because, of course, the offensive line's replacing 3 solid guys. If they're a little bit behind, it's good to have an agile, athletic quarterback out there that can have a little bit of a quick release. So that slightly is an advantage to Lonergan, but it's a very slight advantage. And I only am saying that based on his skill set, which is nothing that Grayson can do about. I think just Lonergan has a little bit more of athletic ability back there, and his release is a little bit quicker.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because that's something that I think, like, you can have all the physical tools in the world, but I think that's definitely something that's important. And it's nice. It's good to hear that for a guy that doesn't have the sort of starting QB experience that Lonergan has, that he still seems to have that sort of feel for the game. Yeah, so I find that interesting that you ranked him above Grayson, but yeah, it makes sense. So last one here that I have is kind of situational awareness, clock management, just general, I guess, IQ in that sort of way. So you're driving down the field under like 2-minute timeout and less, like the things that all BC fans are of. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who's kind of been, you talk about Bills and putting these guys in all these different situations.
Yeah.
Who do you think has been, I guess, performing in those situations?
That's funny, because I'm literally there this weekend, and Bill O'Brien's screaming out, fourth and 1, 10 seconds left, 1 timeout, everything's on the line. And then I'm just standing there. I think I was with AJ Black. Shout out to AJ Black. I was just standing there. We're both looking at each other like, this is terrible. This is BC fans' worst nightmare. We've been there sometimes. Yeah. But you got Bill O'Brien, who's so situational, comes from the Bill Belichick mold, where like every little thing he's thinking about. And I know I'm going on a little tangent here, but like even the other day, he had, the punters running out of bound on purpose, getting a safety on purpose, because that's how like in-game situation he wants them all prepared. So again, this weekend had the quarterbacks doing all these sort of drills, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 10, 4th and 4, there's 3 timeouts, there's 2 timeouts, there's all these different things. So we really got a good grasp of this. I'll say both of these quarterbacks nailed it, man. They nailed it. You know, they're like Bill O'Brien was a few of the days was like getting into it, you know, how he animate, you know, people want to call him the teapot, but he was animated, you know, he was getting into the practices. But the quarterbacks, when it came down to the drills, he was quiet. He was really excited, I think, about how the quarterbacks were handling those situations. So as far as Grayson goes, I'd say this is the biggest improvement in his game. I think the situational awareness, and this makes sense. This is second year. He knows exactly what Bill O'Brien's looking for. Massive improvement there. But I will say this. I don't know if it's improvement or not for Lonergan because he's just coming in here, which is so incredible to think about him as a sophomore coming in here and able to grasp all this. He was able not only to grasp everything that Grayson James was able to do, but he was able to execute it perfectly, whether it's, you know, short pass, spiking the ball, you know, all those different things. He was able to execute it. So I want to say, I'd say both of them. I'm going to rate them both an 8. I think I'm going to rate them both an 8 on this scale. I might give Lonergan an 8.5 on this, but I think they're both an 8 at least. It was really cool to see. And again, as a fan over the last couple decades watching BC, it's nice to see that you have a coach that is like very situational forward when it comes to these things. We've all been through the nightmares with Adazio, Wake Forest, and all these different things. I shouldn't bring up, but it was good to see all these things, and the quarterbacks are executing at a high level when it comes to these situations.
Nice. Well, the numbers tell the same story that you're telling. It seems to be a pretty close battle. If you're curious, based on those 7 categories,
what's the tally, buddy?
Dylan scored a 54.5. Grayson scored a 52. So Dylan with the slight lead, but
that makes. I'm telling you, that's pretty. It's that even. I mean, I could have give or take a 1.5 for sure on everything I just said.
Yeah,
because,
seriously. So
it seriously is that close. You know, I spoke about this before, Jack, too. Like, I know we've spoken about this on other podcasts. Like, when it's this close, you start to, I know fans and media, they start to pull at things that aren't necessarily real, right? We start to pull on things like, you know, maybe Bill's going to go with Lonergan because Lonergan, you know, was the one that recruited him at Alabama. And maybe Bill's going to go with Lonergan because, you know, the school's paying all this money for him to come here. Or Bill's going to go Grayson because the team's more behind him. He's got that leadership there. He showed that, you know, the team last year, you know, which is, I think a lot of fans are just rooting for Grayson because they have such a soft spot for him because of how he's able to come in there last year and just be the ultimate BC dude and take over. I think right now that's where we're at. We're just grasping at things because objectively it's that close. I think just, you know, as a fan or as media, I think we're just grasping at, okay, at this point, maybe it is a political decision. I don't know what else to like kind of come at it analytically when Bill comes down to this. Maybe he's looking at this year. Maybe he's looking at the future to next year. When it's this close, you're starting to think, yeah, obviously the priority is winning this year. You know, you got 3 college football teams coming into Chestnut Hill this year. We got to be competitive. That's going to be his priority. But yeah, this is I disagree with Bill when I asked him that question the other day, and he was like, "I don't think this is a big decision. I think people are I think this is a big decision. I think he knows that too. Yeah. Obviously, I think as a quarterback guy, this is the ultimate decision. I think what he's trying to get at is that whoever he decides, because it is a big decision, whoever doesn't get picked, you know, it doesn't matter. I think he's trying to say, like, as much as it does matter, he's trying to say the fall, there's not a massive difference like we've had, like BC fans are so used to, where after the QB1, there's a massive fall off, right? And I think there's a lot of feelings for fans going into this being like, man, whoever he picks is a big deal because there's a massive fall off. It's like, no, that dramatic. I mean, I'm telling you, that 52.5, 50, whatever you just said, it's that close. And I think the bigger thing to look at, and the only thing we can focus on right now is, okay, if we're going into this year, with a solid quarterback. I think the key to this is they're both pocket quarterbacks. They both understand Bill O'Brien's scheme. They both, clearly have the situational awareness. Like, so difference from last year, you had Tommy Castellanos, which was like, a round block, a block into a round hole, right? It just didn't fit. Like Bill O'Brien didn't fit with him. He wasn't able to use that. He's used to a pocket passer, like Tom Brady, right? So I think now what he's trying to get at is, hey, no matter who, we have the guy. Like we have the guy that can, take my offense, take this offensive scheme, and execute it at a high level. And I think that's the exciting thing to think about as BC fans. But I don't think, again, I can keep talking about that. At the end of the day, who's it going to be? We still want to know,
Yeah, and as a fan, like you hope that a lot of these decisions they take the politics out of it, and they just go with whoever's the best fit, the best talent. But that's just one, not realistic, and two,
right.
In a situation like this where it's so close, it might just come down to that. But and if that's the case, then that's the case. And I think, I hope we get a decision soon. It seems like we might next week at that press conference, but we'll see. But yeah, anything else that you wanted to add about the quarterback situation?
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much it. I think fans should be excited. Whoever Bill does pick, I think is going to be really solid this year. And unlike other years, if God forbid anything happens, we got the right guy right behind them too. So there you go. The only other quarterback update was my guy. You know how high I am on the third string quarterback, Shaker Rising.
Yeah, he's in a boot, right?
He was in a boot, but the last couple of days he wasn't. He was out of a boot. He wasn't taking any snaps, but he was walking around. He seemed fine. So that's my update there. We probably won't see it. I mean, again, he'll definitely probably redshirt this year, and I doubt we'll see him in games, but maybe we will. But that's just the quick little update there on Shaker. He's out of the boot at least.
Yeah. Well, before we move on, just want to. I've never done this before. Just want to show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just the quick breakdown.
Sweet, I like this, Jack.
Yeah, this is Lonergan, James. I assigned some sort of arbitrary weight to each one. I'm not gonna pretend to be a quarterback guru because I don't know how exact these are. But yeah, like we talked about, very close across the board. So
this is nice. Yeah, I've got an Eagles daily breakdown here. You should tweet this out.
Yeah, we'll have to make some sort of graphic about this after the show. But yeah, for the fans watching
see how much
see
how much I get roasted. Feel free to roast me later on your.
I feel like the only way you get roasted is if you had something like egregiously one way or the other. I think everyone knows that.
Yeah,
it's a close battle, and probably if you still lean one way, you might lean Lonergan. But yeah,
it's good. I say it's a good problem to have for BC. Like, as much as everyone's probably wishing one came in and just blew the other one away, I think the real objective truth is they both came in and blew everyone away. I think they've both come in and exceeded expectations and have progressed. And I think you really saw that in the scrimmage, a few days ago, is that they were both executing. The offense was finally starting to get an advantage on the defense because all through training camp, it's been secondary. And then in the scrimmage, when it all was like, hey, let's go to the playbook, the offense was taking it to them. So again, both quarterbacks, I think, have both blown Bill away, which is again making this decision harder, but it's a good problem to have.
Totally. Yeah, I guess jumping off that point, you're saying the offense is starting to gain an advantage. Do you want to jump into any specific position groups? Whether that's the receivers, running backs, who's kind of driving that push other than the quarterbacks?
I gotta say, this has been the most consistent thing throughout training camp has been secondary. Like, you probably heard me on every one of these recaps on social media is that, oh man, the secondary. I'm telling you, like, they're not letting the wideouts get any separation at all. Like when they do, it's a beautiful thing to see because this secondary is breaking up passes. They're creating fumbles, the turnovers. This team was, I believe second or first in the ACC in interceptions last year. My big prediction is that they're going to be leading the league, and they might be at the top of college football this year. They're going to be picking off the ball. Every practice, there's at least 2-3 interceptions. There hasn't been a practice where we haven't seen multiple interceptions. I mean, this secondary is incredible. It starts there, at KP Price at safety, but I mean, all of these guys are back. They've slowly got, all the starters back as far as the DBs go. But Max Tucker this whole weekend, completely taking advantage of, certain situations. The cool thing, and I just want to, the reason I keep bringing up Max Tucker, especially I brought him up in the last recap, is that multiple times I've seen him got beaten because this competition we have a lot of, I'll get into the wideouts in a second, Reed Harris, Lewis Bond, VJ Wilkins, incredible wideouts. This battle going back between them, they're just, raising the level of both. They're pushing each other. But I'd say for Max Tucker, 2 practices in a row I saw him get beat. There was one play where Reed Harris just towered over him. And again, he's got like a foot on him. Grabbed the ball, and you see Max Tucker, flipped his helmet. It was like he was pissed off after play. But immediately, like next goal line, stand, Max Tucker I think he almost intercepted the ball, but he batted it down. So like the competitiveness of the secondary, the confidence, the swagger, you're seeing that, like the resiliency, like even when they get beat, they're just right there back in the next play, which is everything you want to see when you talk about Tim Lewis's defense taking that extra step this year. It's that stuff that you can't teach scheme wise. It's the grittiness that we wish, would show up on the basketball court. It's that, that grittiness that you can't really teach, that the things that Bill O'Brien talks about, that, we can give you everything. We can give you the playing field. We can feed you. We can do all this stuff. At the end of the day, you're going to be the one that has to play the game and have the strength to do it. And I think you're seeing that in the secondary. I can go down the list, man. Like, again, I said Max Tucker, KP Price, Carter Davis, Torrance, you got Ray, you got Ashton Cunningham, Isaiah Ferris. I mean, these DBs are you got a lot of freshmen coming in here that are starting to pick it up as well. But again, like I think what I kind of talked about is they're pushing the wideouts to perform better, and the wideouts with all the talent and experience they have there are pushing the secondary. There's a few points where it got really, both sides are on edge and like getting each other's faces because it's been that competitive throughout spring training.
Yeah. No, I mean, totally. I can see when you have a secondary room that's that deep. Also, is Amari Jackson still recovering from his injury?
Amari Jackson's back. So This is a cool thing. I just want to get people to understand this. Like, this is such an NFL operation that Bill O'Brien's running here. His star players get star treatment. I mean, he brings back the players that are clearly going to be the number 1 DBs and that are clearly going to be the number 1 wide receivers. He gives them days off when they need to, and he brings them back more slowly. And he creates that competition for the folks that need to compete. And I think, this is very rare. I think at the end of the day, it's earn it across the board. But, Amari's going to be one of the best DBs in the ACC. So they've slowly got him back. He started, he was in a few snaps the last couple of practices, but at the end of the day, he's going to be him. I think, Lewis Bond, when ACC Media Day came in, they gave him the practice off, to just talk with media, do his thing. But I think, he knows his guys, and he's getting the guys that need to develop further along. He's pushing them. So again, I think he's doing it the right way there. And again, I'll just say to the wideouts specifically, man, Reed Harris, Brett Ryder was right about him, man. He looks like an NFL player out there. He's gotten stronger. He looks taller somehow. Lewis Bond too is improved. Again, you got the VJ Wilkins kid who's back and practicing now. Rocket, man. They did the same thing with him. They gave him some time, kind of eased him, scaled his his snaps in practice. So he's starting to get a little more snaps as well. But yeah, I'd say the secondary's got the most depth. I think they are, they're going to turn some heads, I think, in college football this year, especially if we can figure out the linebacking and the defensive line. If Tim Lewis is able to figure that out, the secondary could do something really special this year. And then, there's so much depth across the board. But again, the wideouts, you haven't seen some. BC's never been, before Zay Flowers came here, I don't think people understand this. Like, BC never had wide receivers. Like, we didn't bring talent into the heights for the wide receiver position. Like, Matt Ryan wasn't thrown to NFL players. But now you have NFL caliber people here. You got Reed Harris, who I'm certain will play in the NFL. You got, Lewis Bond, who's going to lead. He's going to lead the team in targets this year. And then you brought these tight ends in, which we haven't talked about yet, Jack, but Bill O'Brien brought in Lockwood. He's recruited about 10 tight ends into this program the last couple of years. If you look at Tom, what he was doing at the Patriots with his offensive scheme, it's very tight end focused, not only in the running game, but in the passing game. You're going to start to finally see, now that he has the right quarterback, you're going to start to see these targets to the tight ends go up. And you saw that in the final 5 games where Grayson started last year. The productivity and the tight end, especially to Jeremy Franklin, shot up significantly. And I think you're going to continue to see that development in the passing game this year as well. But the tight ends are looking great. Ty Lockwood, Jeremy Franklin, it all starts there. You're going to start to see that, when we talk about depth, there's depth there now. So it's just exciting across the board when we're talking about the depth of this team.
Sure. So it seems like we definitely have receiver depth, running back depth. What about I'm curious what your thoughts about the offensive line, because you lost Ozzie, lost Jack Conley, lost Drew Kendall to the Eagles.
Yeah.
Eagles, that is. Also, our right guard just got injured, so he might be playing sooner rather than later.
He should. He should.
So how do you see, Bill, the coaching staff filling those holes left behind by those guys?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say I'm feeling a lot better. I think the biggest question is the line, or I should say lines, going into this year, is the offensive line and the offensive line and the defensive line are the two biggest concerns. Especially
that was such an advantage for us last year, having
strength. And it's funny because BC historically has always been O-line, D-line. Like, we have big guys, right? And I will say BC's still got big guys. I mean, as far as experience goes, as far as like seniors and graduate students or whatever, like, we have the guys. Like, we have some experienced guys on the defensive line. It's about figuring out how to gel that together. So I'd say overall, what I've seen, especially the last couple of days of practice, the running game's significantly improved. You're seeing Turbo, be able to like make consistent runs down the middle. And the pass protection has been, it's definitely improved over the course of the last couple of weeks. So you're starting to see that, but again, I think they're still figuring out that lineup, right? So like, as much as there's been, I think when you're talking about Drew Kendall, that's like one of the biggest question marks. I think going into this, I think you're gonna have Dwayne Alec, and I can't really speak to ones and twos, but Dwayne Alec's going to be a big piece of this offensive line. I think obviously you have Matheson, the transfer, coming in, but I will say I think from the outside view, or I should say from the insider view, he struggled, I think, a little bit at practice with the snaps. There's been a few fumbled snaps, and he didn't come into training camp in the best of shape, apparently. According to Bill O'Brien. So, like, I think there's some serious concerns there, especially like specific positions. That center position is one. I think Dwayne Alec's going to have to stay healthy. He's going to have to be that consistent role. And you're feeling a little bit better about the left side. Obviously, you got my guy Jude Bowery there. You got Erks Doherty, who's been starting to make steps forward. He's been getting a lot of snaps with the ones and twos. So, like, you have that. You have Kevin Klein back. We talked to him the other day. You have Logan Taylor back. So you have these guys that are familiar. BC fans, know these guys. They've been here for 5-6 years now, right? It's about gelling it all together. I think this is going to be the main focus of the next 2 to 3 weeks, especially after Bill names his quarterback, because I think that's important. Like getting the cadence down, especially if it's going to be Lonergan. Like I think the reason for fumble snaps is maybe, the new centers or trying to figure all that out, but also the new quarterback and the cadence. So I think, they got 2-3 weeks to really, again, figure all this out because it all gels together. People think the offensive line's separate. It's like that works with congruence with the tight ends. That works congruence with, again, it all starts with the quarterback and, his cadence he's using and the familiarity there. So, I think that's the best I can speak to offensive line. They're improving, but they haven't shown enough where I'm still not concerned, at specific positions. Yeah,
definitely. Totally makes sense. I guess just on the other side of the ball, I think one of our strengths last year was front seven, D-line. We had some great linebackers. This year, just question marks. I mean, I know, Donovan, opposite Donovan Ezraku, Quintavious Hutchins, definitely started to show up towards the end of the season. How is he going to fare now is kind of like that primary rushing attack.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Favor Bate. I've been seeing that he's made some noise during camp. I think
one of my new favorite guys, by the way, Favor Bate.
Favor Bate, okay.
Oh man, dude, we talked to him the other day after practice, after the scrimmage, and just like super solid dude, hilarious. Like, give him a podcast, man. We got to get him on.
Yeah, we'll have him on. But yeah, who do you see kind of making noise in camp on the front set in terms of the front seven?
Well, you got these young guys coming in, and you hope some people like Favor Bate takes those steps up because we're going to need that depth, right? If you look at Tim Lewis's how he runs his defense, like he switches out a lot of the linemen. So like we need to have depth there, and that's probably the place where we have the least amount of depth. I mean, you got Quan Williams there on the line. He's a senior. He's trying to help out, but again, Q has to stay healthy. He really needs to stay healthy. Sedarius McConnell, he's going to be a big part of this defensive line. But you got some of these other, younger guys coming in here. So it's going to be a tough one. I think that is the biggest concern. Yeah. How do you replace Donovan Ezraku? We've asked this to Tim Lewis. We've asked this to Bill Bryan. We've asked this to defensive linemen. They're saying the same thing, which is you can't at the end of the day. But can we use a few pieces and can we use certain schemes and the depth and take advantage of some of the the talent that we have there to replace that productivity? I think for Tim Lewis is going to have he has an advantage in parts of his defense with the secondary, and you're starting to see, and we're getting the linebackers in second. The linebackers are starting to really step into their own too with the leadership of Crouch. But how is he going to be able to scheme it where he can take advantage of the talent he has in secondary and maybe some of the holes that he needs to, again, figure out the productivity level on the defensive line. But health is going to be a big thing, man. I talked about this before. I think the two most important people on both lines, the offensive line, on the defensive line, it's going to be Q Hutchins. He has to stay healthy. And then on the offensive line, Jude Bowery, he has to stay healthy. Both these guys have had, some history with some injuries, especially Jude. So they got to stay healthy. If they do, I think you have a really good fighting chance of making this a very solid, OG BC line and really making maybe a special year for yourself. But I think that health is a concern. That's the biggest place where health is a concern is the lines.
Sure. And then you mentioned some of the linebackers are starting to come on. I assume that's, Bam Crouch, Bryce Steele. I'm not sure. Is Owen McGowan healthy? Is he playing or is he? I know he had some injuries earlier.
Yes. Yeah. He's starting to play again. Again, like you said, Bryce Steele, he's starting to come in his own, but Crouch, I think he's going to be the guy wearing the headset, to be honest. Yeah. He's running all over the field. He had his best practice. I would say he was the best player on the field on Sunday when I watched was Davion Crouch. multiple breakup passes. They got 3 or 4 where he's playing center back, and he's out on the left side swatting down passes. He's on the right side swatting down passes. Is this like a second coming of Luke Kuechly? Probably not, but really exceptional talent. He's a back, man. So awesome. Crouch is exciting. And I think it all starts with him. Like when I'm talking about improvement, like it's all coming from him for the most part. But you have some of these other guys, like some of these younger guys stepping in. So one of the guys, I think he's a freshman. Let me bring up what is his is a red shirt, but there's a few freshmen that are starting to get some time here. One of the freshmen that I thought was going to make immediate impact this year was going to be Bo McCormick, the running back. I think we talk about the running back depth. There's significant depth there. We're 3 strong, right? We got Broom, we got Carter, we got all these running backs in front, 1, 2, 3. We talked about 1A, 1B, 1C, but I think Bo's also, he's been getting a lot of snaps in training camp. But I think these freshmen, you're going to start to see more true freshmen make some impact this year, especially at linebacker, because I think going into training camp, we didn't think there was that much depth there, but we're starting to see, okay, some of these younger players that have talent, and again, with that leadership of Crouch, you're starting to see like a significant step forward there. So I'm starting to be less concerned with linebackers. I really am. My biggest focus as far as concern depth-wise has really just remained on the lines. Secondary, obviously the most depth, and linebackers, again, if we can stay healthy, again, health probably is a concern there. If we can stay healthy, I mean, I'm really excited about the linebacking group.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, especially after losing a guy like Cam Arnold, who, it seemed like he did everything last year.
Yeah.
And you hope Bam Crouch can kind of step into that role and bring guys along like, Bryce Steele, Von Pemberton, maybe. He's playing linebacker now. I don't know how much time he'll see this year, but
and the freshman I was trying to remember off the top of my head, Griffin Collins. He's the linebacker, true freshman. He's been taking a lot of snaps.
Gotcha.
And I think he's going to be an immediate impact player as well. So expect to see him on the field.
It looks like he's local, Worcester Academy.
Yeah.
So awesome. Yeah. Well, we're only 19 days away, so we're seeing these guys on the field. It's crazy. That you'll be back in alumni. Or will you be?
Yeah, I'll be at their Fordham game. I mean,
okay.
less than 3 weeks away, Jack. It's going to be it's nice we get the Fordham game because we kind of ease into this season a little bit because it's actually kind of the schedule. We've talked about this, Jack. Like it's an easier front half with a brutal second half. It's good to start out with Fordham. You can get a W under your belt. But then the season really starts on the road with Michigan State. So that's going to be the test, right? Those first 3 games, like you get a win under your belt, but then you're immediately tested on prime time at Michigan State, and then you got to go on the road again all the way out to Stanford. So, you take care of business based on what I've seen. If they're able to continue to improve upon everything I'm seeing, this could be a special start of the season. Like I really do think they could go 4-1, even potentially go 5-0 in the first 5 games, but that's based on what I'm seeing, but I think it really does start on the Michigan State game, like we've talked about before. I mean, going into that's going to be the huge teller as far as is this going to be? You win that game, this could turn into a special season. Like if you win Michigan State, you expect them to probably go 4-1, if not 5-0. You lose that game, you're just thinking, how are we going to go to a bowl game? If you lose Michigan State, you're trying to figure out where do we get 5 more wins, like the rest of the schedule. So, massive start of the season. We're going to ease into it. So we got really 3-4 weeks until that moment. But again, lots to figure out. Who's going to be QB? Let's get everything gelling. Let's have a crushing defeat against Fordham. Let's get the fans into it. But it's going to be a fun 3-4 weeks, I think.
Yeah, and hopefully we hear some news on the quarterback soon. I prefer sooner rather than later, now, especially since we're so close. to week one. But yeah, anything else that you wanted to add on? Any more under the radar guys, impact freshmen?
I mean, I think the biggest guy that stuck out to me was, I'd say, Griffin Collins for the freshman at linebacker, and Bo Mack. But I think expect to see Bo Mack out there. I was going into training camp being like, because he came in here a little later,
Right.
which is crazy. He only came in here like recently, and I was thinking, well, you got so much depth at running back, right? You have Rome there now back, so you have 3 deep. He's maybe they'll redshirt him, but Bo's been taking snaps and he's been looking, like the guy he set in, Massachusetts local guy. I think he broke every record as far as yards and running yards in Massachusetts last year. He's gonna make some impact, I think, on this roster. So eyes out for Bo Mack.
I'll keep my eye out. Yeah, I mean, we saw Jordan McDonald he's our 4th string running back last year. He got major touches late in the season. So
it's crazy, man. You got Turbo. Yeah, like we have so much depth there, running back, and McDonald, Broom, and then now you got Bo Mack here. So, you got options there, especially when we talked about like special downs. Like you might expect like Broom there, 3rd and 4th down, because he's so good at catching the ball at the backfield. Things like that. He might be now. It's like when we talk about last year. That was so successful with some of those wheel routes and like some of those passes to the outside. It's a perfect timing to have Broom back, and he's such a short guy too. Like I'm thinking like Bill might start getting more into those screen plays, those old school like screen plays, because he's so hard to see back there, and you could really get a quick 5, 10, 20 yards if you do it right. So again, exciting depth across the board. Do you just want to close out football, Jack? Because I didn't know if you wanted to get into the basketball schedule that was released at all.
I think we talked about the basketball schedule last time. I think. Actually, I don't know if it was totally put together. Let me pull it up.
It was the only thing I'll say of this is that there's been talk is that when they released the out of conference schedule, there were some teams on there I've never even heard of.
Yeah, let me pull it up. It is a soft schedule.
I just wanted to hear your quick take on.
I haven't. Being honest, I think they released it a week and a half ago. I haven't given much thought to it last couple days. So let me just go through it now. So we got UConn scrimmage in about 2 months. Open up away at Florida Atlantic, which I think is interesting. Host the Citadel, Central Connecticut, at Temple, which I will be at because I live in Philadelphia, so I will be there.
Yeah, the game. Hey, maybe I'll come back down for that game. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'll have you. Hampton, who should not be a very competitive game, but we'll see. Yeah. And then we have the Charleston Classic. I forget those teams. Then we got Harvard. Oh, we're hosting Harvard at Conti this year. I forgot about that. Okay. And then we're hosting LSU for the ACC SEC Challenge. We got New Haven, we got UMass, we got Fairleigh Dickinson, and we got Lemoyne, who that's probably the one you've never heard of.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's a
very BC.
It's a weak schedule, but it's very typical. Like you have a big Power 5 opponent in LSU. You have a local opponent in Harvard, and then we got UMass this year, which would be fun. But yeah, no super big reactions. I mean, I don't even know.
It's a schedule you look at.
We don't even know what the team looks like, so I'm not even going to try to predict the record.
No. It's just a schedule you look at, though, and you're like, Power 4 school, we should win so many games, and you just don't feel that when you're looking at the concerns of the team. But hey, who knows? But
yeah. I mean, I don't have any specific concerns right now, I'd say. I mean, I guess if I had to pick one, I'd say point guard and just lack of continuity. But, I mean, we'll know more after the scrimmage in UConn, which may or may not go to. It's a Monday night. But yeah, no real reactions from me other than that. I'll probably have to reflect more on it based on these limited number of practice clips that we get on Twitter. So, But yeah, that's it. Nothing else from me regarding basketball.
Sweet. Yeah, I'd say again, everyone continue watching, following along. Again, I'm posting recap videos on Instagram and TikTok for all of these training camp football practices. So we got basically 2.5 more weeks of this before kickoff, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, BC football fans, Eagles Daily. You can go to eaglesdaily.com for all of our articles and eaglesweekly.com for all of our podcasts that we're going to be doing weekly now, which makes sense, Eagles Weekly. Yeah, Jack, anything else?
No, not for me. Just 19 days till kickoff. It's crazy.
19 days till kickoff. All right, that does it for episode 31, Eagles Weekly Podcast. And like always, go Eagles.
Go Eagles.